Well, at least I could say the movie was only $5. Chase Lee Hockey here with Mickey with the Blue Futon reviewing It's a Wonderful Knife. Ha ha ha! Like, it's a wonderful life, but instead of life, we're putting knife. Anyway, what's it about? Pretty simple premise. You have a girl who killed the killer of the town, which is the mayor. And then a year later, she's like, wait a minute, why is everyone trying to forget what happened? And then she's like, you know what? Everything is so wrong in my life. I wish I wasn't born. And you know what? She did it under the Aurora. And now she's in a multiverse of herself. But herself is the same, but everyone else is different. And who else is different is the town. And now she's got to figure out how to get back to her multiverse under the Aurora and try to figure out who the new killers are. So, do you like this movie? No. This was a very not good movie. Like, there are some movies where, it's debatably okay, but this one, it was just like, yeah, it doesn't work at all. I felt like Justin Long was trying to do his best Trump impression. I felt like this movie was pandering, and statistics just make no sense. And then the third act, woof, that made no sense, and as well as the pacing. And it just, you would expect if there were 28 murders, you would think the FBI or whatever state they're in would be like, wait a minute, there is something fucked up going on, because like look at the horrific Idaho killers of the 4 college students. So now we're at basically 28 high schoolers and no FBI, no one from the federal government wants to be like, there's an epidemic of high schoolers dying, but we just don't care. We don't fucking care. And the ending, woof, oof, oof, buddy, makes no sense. But we'll talk about the positives. I do think there are some chuckles here and there, so that's positive. It is only an hour and a half, so that's not bad. But even though it's only an hour and a half, the pacing just wasn't the greatest. And you can say some kills were not that bad. They weren't that bad. Give it that way. But there were some horrific elements where you're just like, huh? Especially there's one where they knock someone down the stairs, and they're like, we gotta step over the guy. Or how about you bum rush him and attack him while he's still on the ground unconscious? So there's just like so many stupid choices where you're just like, that makes no fucking sense whatsoever. And then all right, so let's talk about the third act. I'm gonna spoil it, so I'm sorry that I'm gonna do it just because I don't know if this movie is a Shudder movie, so it is gonna go straight to that service. Will it actually see the light of day in the movie theater? I don't think so, but Cinema Dick did, so there you go. All right, the end of this movie. Justin Long, you know for a fact he's the killer because it shows in the trailer. All right, but for some reason in this new universe, he could hypnotize people with this weird green shit, and he literally is like the mayor of the town. Of course, he's the mayor of the fucking town, but it feels like he just controls everything in this town like a huge ass bubble. Like they live in a dome, like that Stephen King show that was on, I think, NBC. And it felt like that, but it made no sense because, especially, there's this random, like, people in white coats come out of nowhere and they're like, hey, we're going to kill this guy. We're going to hang him up like a Christmas star. And you're just like, no one's noticing. No one's caring. This makes no freaking sense. And he's like, I have a bad list and a naughty list. And if you're on the good list, you're going to give me cookies. I'm going to throw the cookies away. You're like, what is going on? How are you hypnotizing these people? This makes no sense. And all of a sudden, it's like, I'm going to punch you. I'm going to punch you so many times. And everyone in the town's like, wait a minute. I'm under a daze. But how are they under a daze when, if you want to go back to the OG timeline, none of this happens. None of this whatsoever. So you're just like, is it just because everyone's smoking this magical crack? And the crack is just making everyone dazed and confused? Which, that could happen. I guess you could put it that way. And I hate to say it, I've talked about it before. This is a very pandering movie that when it comes to representation. I did it for It's a Bar Mitzvah. I did it with Totally Killer, where you're just like, they just place it in there. For here, okay, hear me out. I don't care what state they're in. I don't care what country you're in. But I want statistics of between, whites, blacks, you could call, Hispanics, Asians, etc. I want that to be more representation in a movie. It's not like that. Let's put it this way. This is about sexuality. There are main couples in this movie, right? You have the parents. You have the aunt. You have the brother. You have the sister. And then you have the sister's boyfriend. All right, hear me out. Of course, the parents are straight, right? All right, but the wife, aunt, is gay. All right, so you have a lesbian couple. Their son is gay, so you have a gay couple there. All right, then you realize the sister's brother is cheating on a girl. All right, so that's two straight couples, right, that we're focusing on. And then randomly at the very end, I guess the sister is gay, now lesbian. So in this story, you have two lesbian couples, a gay couple, and two straight couples. That's 60%. 60%. I don't know if they're going off the Gen Z thing, but that's 20%, okay? So you're saying that these young couples, that's still a 66%. Yeah, 66%. You are overinflating by times 2. And that's being generous if we're really going with this 20% with, everyone's gender fluid nowadays, which I just don't understand whatsoever. Like, I'm just so baffled that this is pandering to the representation crowd. And it feels like the Oscars are kind of doing the same way of like, you know what? But listen, if you want to have representation, fine. But do it in a way that's truthful. I'm a very truthful person. They forcibly put in your face, and you're just like, cool story, bro. Cool story. So this movie has okay kills, but a horrific story, horrific pacing, horrific third act, and the pandering of this movie. Just, I'm all about real world. And like when I see these queers for Palestine, please don't go to that part of the world, because or do it. And I saw this other video where it's like this guy is like, you think they're going to draft us? I got to learn about being bi, and I'm a mental illness and I have all these pills. I'm like, where the fuck are we going? Ronnie Radke said it smartly when I was at a concert. Where did America's balls go? No clue. So It's a Wonderful Knife will receive a 1 out of 5 with Futons, which goes at 20%. Let's see the critics' review scores it gave this one. So we have one critic. This was an hour-and-a-half movie, and it felt longer. Ugh. And the critic is a positive, a 7.5 out of a 10. Imagine a Hallmark holiday special that hacks into bits by a psychedelic killer, more along the lessons teaching lines of Krampus than the repulsively, entertainingly violent In Night. Ugh, this guy sucks balls. Anyway, 20%. We'll go with this 75. Chase Lockyer with the Blue Futon. Like, comment, subscribe. One of these Futon Toby. You Futon, have a great day. And I don't care if you watch this today, tomorrow, week from now, month from now, year from now. I love every single freaking one of you. I truly do. I don't care who you are, what you do, don't care. But I just look at the real world, and I look at these movies, and nowadays I'm just like, it's not the real world anymore. If you want to be like, oh, this is like the real world, show us the real world. Don't exaggerate it, because the more you exaggerate it, the more you turn people off. That's how it works. That's how it works.